Got a question. What do you do when hyper independence, what we call a strength, becomes actually physical? That I don't need anyone. Why is asking for help so difficult? So when I have the word concept that I can everything by myself, that mindset, that hyper independence is knowing that everything I gotta do myself, and there's no one there for me. I'm not even trying to ask anybody. When people always coming to you telling you you're the strong one, yeah, man, I admire you for handling everything. Um, you get you're the dependable one. You are the dependable one in yourself, right? The one that everyone else calls when something is going wrong in their life. The one who always finds a way to figure it out. The one that doesn't need much. The one that people don't check on. And maybe somewhere along the way, something that made you proud. Something that, I did that. Gave you a little affirmation. But I got a question. And I had to eventually ask myself this question. What if I don't need anyone? Isn't truly a strength, but it was a armor that I put on. What if that mindset of independence isn't only about what I'm capable of doing, but what if it's something that I was afraid of that might actually happen if I needed to depend on somebody else? Right? So today I want to talk about where it comes from for each one of us, right? And everybody got their own story. But how something that once protected me eventually isolated me from ever asking for help, for fear of rejection, for fear of failure, for feeling someone's failed me. How I remain strong without ever carrying this weight everywhere I go, right, by myself. So that was kind of like what I want to talk about. And so for those who don't know, my name is Dimitri Tsar. I'm the founder of Folding Foundation. And our whole focus is we help people decode the patterns underneath the behaviors that they go through unconsciously. We bring it to the forefront, bring it to the awareness of their consciousness, help them transform their paradigm, their reality. So we explored in our last one of our people learn to survive what everyone needed them to be. They were the yes person. So they keep peace by saying yes to avoid the disappointment, to avoid disappointing people. So they then sacrifice themselves to maintain that connection. Now, the other response to that far-reaching is that there's a feeling of not feeling connected, or if someone's going to leave, I don't need you in the first place. It's the other extreme of that. That's what hyper independence is, that other extreme. And so this is what makes it me anyway complicated, because I found that there's a culture that they actually rewards that. Right? They praise a person that can handle everything. They don't need it. We celebrate those that are doing everything on their own. That person who never complains. We big them up, right? That's what everybody should do. But what happens to that individual inside their being when you spend years being applauded for something that's slowly exhausting every fiber of your being because you don't have anyone else that can pour into you, or you won't let anybody pour into you. So what is that feeling that's tied to that? So there's that, right? It's a difference in being independent, the level of healthiness there. And I believe that everyone's responsible for their choices. And I believe that that's what true ownership is. I believe in discipline. And everyone have the capability of discipline their lives. I also believe that you can develop the ability to stand on your own 2 feet if needed. But independence, independence, are not the same. Right? A healthy independence mindset says to oneself that I can do this myself. But when you think about saying, I must do this by myself, I think that when I think about healthy independence, that's like, I appreciate your help. But when you think about, or when I think about hyper-independence, it's rather I'd rather struggle than to ask for help. Right? You know, when I look at a healthy choice, right, or a healthy allowance, saying, you know, versus hyper independence, that's like more of a choice to do that. I don't just prefer doing anything. You feel uncomfortable when you don't do things. So I think that's where one has to spend some time being curious about the origins of that. But sometimes what looks like strength on the outside could be some underlying fears operating on the surface as to why you feel the need to not ask someone for help or to receive help. So just my thoughts on that. I want to go a little bit fortress cycle. And it kind of begins with mindset that maybe someone in your life has disappointed you, some shape, form, or fashion. And maybe somebody you trust wasn't there when you needed it. Or maybe someone made a promise to you and they repeatedly broke that trust and promise. Maybe you learned very early, very young, that your adults in your life wasn't reliable. So you had to grow up quickly, take care of things like that. So that level of energy that's tied to it creates this internal trust or distrust. Right? Distrust creates a decision that you sometimes make consciously. In other words, and sometimes because sometimes, but you have to handle everything. Then this sets up the mindset for that in this concept. Because now you become your own resource. You're the only one that's capable of getting. You got to be that responsible. You got to be successful. People got to depend on you because you can't allow anybody else to be allow yourself to be dependent. You got to be that strong one to cover those particular circumstances. And so over time, that builds that wall, almost like isolation. And that could be exhausting over time because everything in your circle starts to reinforce that you got to do it yourself. Nobody gets to truly see you be wrong. And so that fortress around your heart gets to get deeper and deeper and scab over more. Pain, distrust. That's the foundation of the type of independence, that isolation. And quite frankly, being exhausted at times. You can't trust nobody. It begins this whole cycle. And eventually, that wall that was created internally to protect you from that pain, that hurt, that disappointment, it actually becomes a fortress. It becomes your prison. And it prevents you from opening up your heart. It becomes an armor piercing. So when I think about that armor, for me, it was like, found that a lot of the people that I was in work with, they weren't able to be dependent. I couldn't be dependent. I had to talk to my family, some family members. Couldn't depend on anybody. They wouldn't do for me like I did. So part of me felt that I had to do it on my own. I couldn't trust nobody else to do it. So I went through the world struggling emotionally to ask. Even when I needed it most, I couldn't find myself to ask for help. I needed it most. I had to suffer in silence. I didn't do this. We don't want to put our burden on anyone. Not just me, but people in the family. But you become truly, truly uncomfortable when somebody else helps you. And in some cases, I became suspicious of kindness. Like, what you want? My wife and I still laugh about it. When she give me a compliment, I'd be like, what you want? Right? and so we find ourselves that requires us to truly spend time to be vulnerable, ask for something. The first is really spending time with yourself, being clear about what that is. What you hold in your heart, secretly, right? But if you never take the time to really go into your heart space and ask these questions and be curious about who you are and why you behave the way you do, you don't even understand that you have conditioned yourself to be in the exact environment. That is a difficult truth to look in the face. Sometimes we don't show up because we spend years convincing ourselves that no one can do it for us. Show up for us. I mean, the worst when we believe that we don't deserve it. That's a whole other thing. So I got the video now. But I just want us to be careful with ourselves, we want to tell ourselves, and to be curious about how we live and why we live. Because there's always the emotion, energy, thought process of why we hold on to certain beliefs, certain belief systems. And I'm not here to diagnose anyone. I just want us to be curious about the patterns. show up and how we show up. Some people feel that self-reliance is developed because they have to be caregivers or because people are inconsistent. Mothers who may have come from betrayal or abandonment, even rejection in some cases. But there's nothing to be ashamed of or saying that I need help or I need you. That's actually true. To be able to look someone in their eye, tell them I need you. How many wives would love to hear their husband say to them, sincerely, I need you in my life. How many men need to hear that from their wives? I need you. Boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever relationship. Just to have that level of vulnerability. To stand in one's truth. And to not be so hyper independent that you don't need it. That you put it everywhere. That have a true unique to be there for you. We shouldn't restrict the love that God has given us to others. It's His way of affirming to you that we love you. So, that's my talk for today. That's my rant. I hope we got a couple of nuggets out of it. But in all things, I just pray that you spend some time curious about your actions and your habits, how you get to do the things that you do, and why you do the things that you do. Spend some time in silence and stillness and just ask yourself questions about who you are and why you do what you do. That's all I got. That's all I got for today. Until the next time. Peace. Love.